Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and we are back again with the HSK Experience podcast. After being away for a while, for that's approximately 1 week, I was abroad and I came back feeling very fresh to have a very interesting topic that was selected by the lovely audience. Thank you very much for everyone who participated. This is a very special podcast because this is the first time I have decided to do a poll for basically for you to choose a topic. And after getting a feedback from some of the listeners and the viewers, that we get you more involved in the process. So we see what your appetite, and this is today is the appetite. Actually, let me correct that. The appetite was that today you wanted me to talk about the political correctness. Very interesting topic. It's one of my favorite topics because it gets people heated. When you start talking about political correctness, it's an interesting kind of topic. Now, I wanted to talk about this topic, but there was one problem, and that is there is a lot of terminology, there is a lot of what do you call it? Debate that I kind of need to grasp, and I need to have a lot of interpretation to them in order for me to give you a more simplistic way of talking about this topic, because it can be very, very messy. I watch a lot of people trying to talk about political correctness, and it gets so messy that people and the audience they tend to have it, or they tend to find it very difficult to interpret, or very difficult to kind of come up with a conclusion. It's actually a paradoxical kind of topic because usually you cannot get a conclusion out of it, but you can at least set your views and set your opinions, and then you can kind of identify yourself. Either you're on the lefties or on the righties. That's one of the terminologies that is very much used in the political correctness spectrum. So today's topic is going to be one of my also all favorite topics, and that is artificial intelligence. What could possibly go wrong? Now, there is a terminology with the human beings. It's called failure intuition. Failure intuition is it's the perception. It's not basically the perception. It's the failure that we humans are unable to detect real or certain danger. And it's a very interesting concept because usually we human beings, we tend to find ourselves very interesting. We tend to find ourselves very, how I can put it, very, very superior when it comes to us comparing ourselves to like objects. Say, for example, a device or whatever. Like, I created the device, and the device can't operate. It can do the computation, the calculation, but it cannot do a more sophisticated stuff. Now, that was basically views of the early days when we invented the computer. Now the table has turned. I wouldn't say the table has turned, but I can say that now we are in a more advanced world. We're in a more technologically capable world that we can tend to be afraid of their devices. I mean, not just from the AI, what do you call it, side, but also from the cyberbullying and all of these kind of things that are going on. We kind of afraid. Like, you see a lot of people who put, for example, what do you call it, stickers on their cameras from their phones because they want to protect their privacies and stuff. So, not to deviate a lot from the topic, back to AI. I want to address two sides to the topic. I want to address the optimistic side, and I want to address the pessimistic side. And bear in mind, this is basically all personal views, personal opinions. There will be some facts that probably I'm going to talk about, but it's mainly personal opinion. Because, like I said, this channel is basically for just random talk. But usually there is no script into this one. There is two interesting people that you actually know. If you don't know, you should. Shame on you if you don't. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Elon Musk is the owner of Tesla. He is the one of the people, or one of the leading entrepreneurs that is that displays concern when it comes to AI. He always have interviews whenever they talk about AI. He tries to warn people, and when you watch some of his interviews, you feel funny. Like, come on, like what are you talking about? Like what a Terminator kind of thing? Like what a robot will come and terminate me? Now, maybe for people who don't follow AI much, they don't have that much access or that much knowledge of how advanced is AI. And trust me, the advancement of AI could be literally so close to you that you don't even pay attention to. Now, I'm going to give you one example. If you have a Huawei smartphone, the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, for example, uh, it has a camera, and this camera, there is an option that tells you master AI. So master AI, you just point the camera to whatever object that you want to point, and it will switch between the modes from photo to portrait to panorama to night mode, whatever picture this camera is looking at or seeing, it's going to adjust the mode accordingly. And it can do it better than you. It can identify if you actually should take a picture in a night mode. Say, for example, if you are in a little bit like a dark room or a dark place, it's going to adjust to switch the mode to like night mode. Say, for example, if you are on the beach and you want to take a picture, it can, for example, switch to the aperture, which is going to kind of give you a bit of depth of field kind of image. So this is one sophisticated algorithm that some coder in some technology company has to write and implement in order for the AI to basically make that, make that output or make that conclusion. And it's done very quickly. The processing power is just very, very superior to any human brain. It's literally 1 million, it could be 1 million times faster than any human being that you know. So when you think about these kind of things, you probably still like, okay, so what? It's just a camera. And that is back to the main terminology that I introduced in the beginning of this podcast, and that is the failure intuition, and which is basically, again, it's the failure of us human beings detecting the danger. So we don't feel threatened. It's okay. It's no problem. Now there is a law by I believe he's a scientist on the 1970. His name is Moore, so they call it Moore's law. Based on his name, basically. And this law explains how advanced the technology become every year. So there is a scale and there is a chart. If I can actually display it on the screen, you'll see it on the screen. That human beings are able to produce processor that are processing power, or like a processing chips that basically get doubled in speed every 2 years. So imagine, for example, if you have today a computer with a certain processing power. Say, for example, you have a what's a good computer? Mac, like MacBook. So the MacBook that you have today, in 2 years, it's going to be literally double the speed. So next year version, it's going to be, say, for example, 20% faster. And you see this. You see it every time Apple have the show. They tell you that it's 20% faster. And then you see the other day, it's going to tell you like it's 40% faster or it's 30% faster. So it basically doubles in speed. And of course, I mean, they know they don't do it maybe on Mac computers, but we do have that technology. The technology is there, but probably it's not implemented for some economical reasons, but it's already there. And that is Moore's law. So, as I was saying, take 20 years, take 30 years, take 40 years of advancement according to Moore's law, and you can start like coming up with conclusions that this could be very scary, this could be very worrying, this could be something that we're not paying attention to. And again, back to the first concept that I introduced to the what do you call it, to the topic, and that is the intuition failure. Now, there is that sense of danger that we're not basically detecting, and that is the worrying part. So, as Elon Musk was emphasizing on a lot of interviews, that he was trying to get the message to the other part, that we should probably slow down. We should probably regulate AI. We should probably, try to figure out what are we building, because you don't want to have regulations for AI when it's too late. You wanna make sure that before messing with AI, because again, this is a super intelligence that can that can make itself more advanced, that can just develop itself, that can replicate itself very quickly, because we tend to view it as a tool for the most part. We tend to dismiss the fact that this could be actually something worrying. And again, I'm not trying to be like too pessimistic about it, but there is a lot of instances where we should be worried. And again, mentioning the experiment or the bot that was developed by one of those companies, again, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, I don't actually remember. That's a very terrifying thing, that a bot is able to communicate with people without them detecting this bot, basically. And he's going about having conversations and then grasping concepts and trying to develop its dialogue. And then people are not, for the most part, identifying that this is actually a robot rather than it's a human being. And then when it's talked to the other AI, when they make them talk to each other, two AIs talking to each other, they have developed their own language. That's very scary. And there's the movie Ex Machina, if you watch the movie, where they for the people to go to this scientist. He's a billionaire, like he's a tech scientist, where that he lives in a very remote area. So he developed this test. It's called the Turing Test. Now, the Turing Test main concept is that I am, as a developer, I will develop an artificial intelligence and I will release it to the public. And this artificial intelligence should be able to have a conversation with a different person, with like a human being, without the human being identifying or realizing that he's talking to an AI. And this is basically the premise of the movie in Ex Machina. So I find these things very, very interesting, because we as human beings, if we notice our advancements, usually we tend to find ourselves very much superior to any other, either other human beings or other creatures that are standing in our ways. So it's about basically the advancements that we're trying to achieve, the moving forward, rather than just staying stationary. So let's take, for example, if we go to the woods and we want to build a colony, or we want to make constructions. Let's not do colony. Let's do a construction. And you see a couple of ants going by their life. You would be like, okay, those are ants. Most of the time, you're just gonna dismiss them if you're not having any intentions to do anything, because they're not harming you. They're not like on your way. But if you're trying to advance, to develop, you're basically going to squash those ants. So we could be literally the ants for these super intelligent AIs if they're advanced enough to realize that the main threat to the sustainability of the earth is human beings, because it's trying to take our morals and values in order for it to come up with conclusions on how to enhance and how to develop itself. So let's say, for example, let's take the most pollution. Who causes the most pollution? Now, if you built an AI and you gave it a purpose that I need you to solve the issue that the Earth is dying and we have too much emissions, and how can we solve it? Now, an AI can make the conclusion, through computation and stuff, that in order for us, or in order for the Earth to recover, in order for Earth to not be polluted, we need to take some extreme measurement. Now, depending on the AI conclusion, you cannot tell actually what will the AI try to conclude, because again, it's a super intelligence. It's like an entity by its own. So it's not going to eliminate the possibility that, okay, you're a human being, I'm not going to harm you, because that's not the case all the time. And that's not the case with human beings. So it can come up to the conclusion that, okay, the main reason for the pollution of the Earth is basically human beings. So the common sense is that let's just wipe out human beings. And it couldn't be as drastic or as dramatic as you could imagine it. Like there will be nuclear war against us because of some crazy AI launching the warheads. No, it could be literally a very smart, efficient way for the elimination without even human beings being kind of aware of it. So these are some of the extreme kind of ideas and speculations and imagination on how can an AI be so evil and how can an AI be so sadistic. So there's a lot of possibilities. There is a lot of probabilities. I'm not saying that this is the thing that could happen, but I'm saying you cannot subtract the possibility that this is one of the things that could happen, because again, a super intelligence is something that we do not know what it is. Like, we know how to code it, we know how to make it learn stuff, but we do not know what's the outcome. We're hoping that the outcome is going to be something that is going to aid us, is going to help us into development, into making things more efficient, into making things smarter, into making life easier. But we do not actually know if this is or this is going to be something good, or this is going to be something that is actually useful. So again, not trying to eliminate the possibility that this actually could happen. Now, I don't want to be the pessimistic person and eliminate the bright side, or the bright picture of this one. Mark Zuckerberg, on the other spectrum, he's a person who is very optimistic about AI. Now, on my view, I would say there is a lot of applications for AI where it could possibly change people's life to completely something different. Now, whether it's good or bad, you can judge by yourself, but let's assume that we have a very good artificial and smart artificial intelligence that is able to generate computer-generated worlds, where you can access those worlds using a virtual reality headset or a virtual reality kit, the one that, if you watch the movie, Ready Player One or Ready Player One, which is actually a novel of Stephen King. It's a very interesting concept if you actually can just escape the real world to a virtual reality world. And virtual reality is a very interesting topic that could be actually for another podcast. So AI could actually give us that, give us a completely way of living our lives. We most probably will not be able to hang out together outside, but we will definitely be able to hang out in the virtual reality world from this AI which actually can keep generating different worlds. So you can, for example, have some inputs where the AI can create a very flashy, colorful world, or a very green, full of plants and full of life, very weird kind of creatures and stuff. So that gives you unlimited resources for filling your curiosity. So you can just keep exploring as you grow older, and that's going to be your life for the most part. You can have a job there, you can have your own house or whatever. So it's endless possibilities, because it's a very interesting and deep topic. So I don't wanna kind of have it very extended. I just want to keep it at 20 minutes. So at the end, I think we should. we cannot stop human beings from developing. We cannot stop human beings from trying to be more advanced and creating better AIs. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. But I think we should at least be wary and be a bit cautious in how we drive that development. Where do we want this development to be? People who code those algorithms that basically give the AI the power that it has. What are the kind of code? What are the parameters that you're defining for this AI? And probably from there you can just reach out to the regulators, and regulators can set the regulation. How can an AI be a bit tamed? Because you can actually, if you think about it, let's say for example, country A has announced a discovery that they have created an AI that is capable of extremely interesting things. You would literally have other countries who are kind of like enemies or not very much friendly to these countries, trying to also go to that race. A similar way when we had the Cold War, you have a certain countries who are actually very technologically advanced, and you have the opposite countries who are trying to catch up to that. So it's going to be the same thing with AI, because the country with the better AI, they can actually have a more powerful weapons when it comes to war. So a lot of possibilities. And again, the topic can go on and on, but I think this is the kind of thing that we need to think about. It's a very vast thing to think about, and I'd keep it at here. I'd stop it here. I'd like to hear a bit of comments. I would like to hear your feedback. What do you think about it? Well, do you think AI is going to be Terminator kind of thing, or do you think AI is going to actually help us develop and help us basically be very, very advanced civilization as a nation? So thank you very much for watching, and see you next one. Peace.